Hey, you are listening to Laughing Through Life podcast. Less struggle, more fun. How you doing? How's everybody doing today? Hey, I'm glad to have you here. Obviously, this is the place if you want to let go of struggle, you want to laugh pain out of existence, and you want to break cycles, learn to have fun in life and laugh through every situation. This is where you want to be. I have an awesome guest on here today. Just met him Friday, had an amazing conversation. And now I get to have him on the show, and it's freaking an honor to have you on here. I have the amazing Eric Zuzack on the show. How you doing, Eric?
I'm fantastic.
Good. I'm so happy to have you on here. So what makes Eric so special? So he is known as Powerful-eric because he learned to embrace his power. But here's what he does. He has his own podcast called Porn Talk. And no, guys or gals, this is not where we go and he talks about porn per se. Because that's immediately what everybody wants to go to. I'm like, this dude has a website talking about a podcast talking about porn? The hell can you talk about porn? Talk about the new dildos and stuff out there? But here's really the premise behind it. And I think it's powerful because this is his own journey, and I'm going to let him dive into that here in a minute. But what he does is he empowers men to break their online sex addiction and live with integrity, whatever that means to him. And I actually want you to dive deeper because to me, integrity can mean different things. And I think some of these definitions of integrity are really outdated, in my opinion. And to me, integrity means living within your true self, your true nature, being true to you. Because people have like, oh, integrity is, your character, this and that. I'm like, no, it goes deeper than that. Are you in line with who you truly? That's how I feel. But I want to hear yours in just a second.
Sure.
But Eric, he's helping men. He's a coach. He's a speaker. He's Powerful-eric, and he helps people step into their power, not being a victim to whatever their struggle is, not going through these programs where they continue to state that you are powerless. And I hope you get that.
Right.
You have the fucking power inside you to really own your life. Own what's causing the struggle and causing the addiction anyway, because there's so many different addictions. You chose this one because it has a powerful passion and meaning and why behind it. I can't wait to get you talking. So I'm going to shut the hell up so I can have you talk. I'm going to ask you a question and then we're going to go from there. But no, go ahead. Go ahead.
So one, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here, and I love your message, a spiritual comedian. Like we said when we met the other day, the world desperately needs your message. So thank you so much for doing what you do. I mean, there's a tremendous need for it. And as far as Powerful-eric goes, like you said when we first met, that name did not come out of ego. Powerful-eric. That it was quite the opposite. For about 20 years, I was in and out of every sex addiction 12-step program you can name. I was in Sexual Compulsives Anonymous. I was in Sexaholics Anonymous. I was in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. I even went to AA, even though I'm not an alcoholic. I've been to AA meetings. I've been to Al-Anon. I've been to Addiction or Debtors Anonymous. I mean, I'm a professional 12-stepper. And 12 steps, the first thing that they have to do, they say, we are powerless over whatever the addiction is. And for 20 years, I said I was powerless. And I had very limited success in those programs. And those programs work for a lot of people, and kudos for those people. So, if somebody has success with those programs, more power to them. But for me, for my personal journey, it did not help. In fact, it was quite the opposite. It disempowered me. So one day, I stumbled on the science of mindfulness to break addictions, and it totally worked for me. And so I was creating a screen login for this mindfulness program. And just on a whim, I put, for my login, instead of just Eric or Eric Zuzack or whatever, I put, I want to put Powerful-eric, because for over 20 years, I've been saying I'm powerless. And so I was kind of angry and defiant at the same time, like, I'm putting Powerful-eric. and it felt so good. This is so weird. When literally the hairs are starting to go up on my arms now. It
because you're
felt
speaking
right.
truth right now.
Right. Thank you. It felt good. It felt right. And then the amazing thing too is the people that I talk to that know me, that hear Powerfuleric, they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. And so that's how that all came about. In your message about being a spiritual comedian, man, had I learned what you're talking about or in your podcast and that a long time ago, maybe I wouldn't have gone down the addiction road, because I was taking myself so seriously, and especially sex, oh, this is taboo. I can't talk about this stuff. And so this is how it all evolved. And then I found the science of mindfulness. I got a degree, a coaching certificate specifically for sex and porn addiction. It's specifically for that. It's not for anything else. It's for sex and porn addiction. And so with my podcast, Porn Talk, and coaching men individually, that's what I'm doing. I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome that you're saying that. And I want to step back just for a second in this powerless piece with these 12-step programs and all these other programs, which, I knew a little bit about them, but I didn't know enough, right? That's what they do. And I know some of these have a religious context, which is fine because, like you said, it helps people. It helps people get to a good point. The problem I see, and I've seen this in a lot of them, is that now I really know because you live this, is the powerless piece. Thinking that you're powerless, that your power is outside of you. You can only get the power from something if you believe this way or a certain way. And people get stuck and they get labeled and they hold on to these fucking labels. And this is not just sex addiction. This is with mental illness and a lot of different things, diseases, saying, oh, this is just who I am. This is what's going on. So therefore it must be that way. And it's like, no. Like I suffered from depression. I did years ago. I was told that I would always be on medicine, that I had a chemical imbalance.
Me too. I was told the same exact thing. Same thing.
Chemical imbalance. I'm not on any fucking medicine anymore, and I haven't been on for years. I took myself off because I couldn't stand it anymore. So I worked myself to a good spot, but I still had to work through a lot because I'm still angry, still insecure, still dealing with shit. I wasn't as bad as I was, or I hid it better, really. But I was told a chemical imbalance. Well, there's a reason. We are stuck in fight or flight. This is what we do. And I know you can probably attest to this, and correct me if I'm incorrect in my assumption here, is that with your addiction, well, it's not really an assumption because this is the underlying reason behind, addiction on any addiction, not just sex addiction, because people can get addicted to many different things, food, shopping, people, is that they are trying to fulfill something that they feel lacking in the inside in the first place. So that's why we go into addiction, and then you're stuck here, and then you're going through all these programs and you're trying to find the next program to fulfill. So you pretty much got addicted to programs.
That's
you shifted your addiction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't pick a good, the one thing with mindfulness, and this is a basic fundamental for breaking addictions, is you have to replace the habit. Because if you just say, I'm not going to view porn anymore, or I'm not going to drink alcohol anymore, if you do that, then there's this void. And something is going to fill the void. So I chose mindfulness, meditation, martial arts, things like that. And you had mentioned anger. And so on my website, or the mascot for Porn Talk is Raging Richard. And Raging Richard is a little penis with a giant red eyeball. And he's got arms, and he's holding a smartphone, and he's looking at his smartphone. And Raging Richard, he's pissed off at the world, He's pissed off at the world, and
he's being a dick.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say that's my little tagline for Raging Richard. So, Raging Richard, don't be a dick, don't be like Dick.
Don't be a dickhead like this guy.
Yeah. Actually, I had a little contest. to have him named, And so that was when the guys came up with that name. And so he got he's getting a free session with me. But yeah, so rage, anger is a big thing for me. I was angry at the world, angry at other people, and especially the biggest of all, I was angry at myself.
And what that is, when you're angry at the world, it's really at yourself, because all it is a projection of how we feel. And I want other people to understand, because people think that when men, well, including women, but men especially, when they're angry, I think it's a sign of strength, and it's actually weakness.
Yeah.
Because what it really is like, I'm not afraid of anything. I'm like, dude, anytime you're getting fucking angry, you're afraid.
It's fear. Yeah.
Deep down, because all anger is a secondary emotion to, and now I want to sing Tina Turner, and I don't know why that song just popped in my head. What's love got to do? That's a song that just popped in my head. That happens to me all the time.
Well, because I think I know why. Because the opposite of fear is love. You know, they say,
yes.
What's the opposite of love? People say hate. No, actually, the opposite of love is fear.
True, because it's not hate. Hate is a learned thing, and actually, hate is just the absence of, well, you're hating yourself. And people just don't understand that when we are projecting, we hate someone else, we hate something else. All we're doing is projecting our own feelings, because what we see, and everybody listening to this, you're going to hear this a lot in my podcast, is the outside world is a reflection of our inside world. And yes. The reason you're going to hear that a lot, because it's absolutely paramount to changing and shifting your life, is that you can control the outside by controlling the inside world. So you're going to hear that a lot. And why you're going to hear that is because it's important, but it's always how the conversation is going. It may not pop up every single time, but this here is not coincidental. The conversation we're having here, the things that are coming up are not coincidental. It's all flowing the way it is through divine presence, divine connection. And Absolutely. This is how it's happening. So I just love that. Freaking Richard, don't be a dick.
Yeah. Raging Richard. And you know, a lot of self-help people, or in the self-development world, they portray this image like, I've got it all together and do my program and your life will be fantastic and I've got all the answers. Well, I don't have all the answers.
Well, that's bullshit on them too, and you can see that a mile away. Even though I've been that guy faking it,
right?
And it doesn't work long term, and people can sense the energy in that you're not being real or genuine or authentic, if you want to use that word. Yeah. But it's the same concept. It's like no. But go ahead and continue on.
But I do have some after well, just the 20 years alone of the 12-step programs. I've learned what doesn't work. I know what doesn't, at least I know what doesn't work for me. And I know what does work for me. And like I was saying, I don't want to portray this image that I'm perfect. And I am not. I'm a flawed human being. But what I like to spread is people can learn from my mistakes rather than going down the same road that I've gone down. And one of the things with pornography, I was at this neutral point, like, people, well, I still am at this part, if people want to view porn, great. If they do, great, whatever they want to do. Thing that I've been researching all this stuff that's really disturbing is sex trafficking, and especially of children. And I'm not talking teenagers, I'm talking kids. And it is a dark, dark path. And so my question is, if somebody's watching porn, well, where's that porn coming from? Is it just somebody that's uploading stuff, their husband and wife? Or is this some big time pornographer that, it's some bad stuff. If you're paying money for porn, depending on what group you're paying it through, you can be supporting some, I'm just saying evil. I got to say evil, some evil stuff. If you think sex trafficking of kids and having sex with children, forced slavery, it's bad. It's bad. But I want to pull back a little here because I'm getting a little deep and dark here, and we want to keep this whole alive.
Get the fuck back up here, damn it. No, this is where
I
you
guess
can
what I'm
take
saying-
serious stuff and really bring humor to it.
Yeah.
And whereas personally, I don't believe there's good and evil and bad because that's just like a duality thing.
And I understand what you're saying, and I
because
agree.
good and evil is in the eye of the beholder, right? It's how we perceive it to be.
Yeah.
When you're in the spiritual dimension, and I'm not taking any away from you, right? It's just you
No,
have
I
your truth,
understand
I have
what
my
you're
truth.
saying.
I'm just saying I don't necessarily believe that. It's what I say is people are so disconnected and separated from who they truly are that they do some things that are just you're like, holy fuck. And it's not beautiful at all. It's the furthest from love. And yeah, it's when you get into porn, even when you're in the major porn industry, right? When you got some of these major celebrity porn people,
Right.
the women aren't treated that well.
No.
But they go in it thinking, oh, this is the great thing. I'm having connection. I'm having sex. And it's this beautiful thing, which sex can be beautiful. If you're coming from it from a spiritual, not religious. We're not. When I say spiritual,
Right.
this religion is not spiritual in my opinion. It can be if you're connected. It goes deeper, but spiritual because we're all energy, and that's where the connection comes from this energetic source. That's spiritual, and that's really where sex is. And then we get into sex, and your religion says it's bad, or unless it's this way, or this is bad, and this is bad, and then you take it into that realm, and it's just it's just horrible. When really sex is really about connecting deeper with yourself.
Yeah.
And then understanding how you are with that sense of it, creativity, and then you're able to bring a partner in to enhance that because you got two people doing this that are same thing connected. That's really what it's about. And there's so much beauty in sex when there's not all this pain involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had mentioned energy, bringing in good energy or bad energy. And I think of myself, and I love Zig Ziglar. I quote him all the time. I just think the world of Zig Ziglar. He's got a fantastic quote. It says, "You are what you are and where you are because of what has gone into your mind, but you can change what you are and you can change where you are by changing what goes into your mind." And so I ask myself when I'm viewing porn, or this was not a conscious thing, but when I was viewing porn, I'd always feel like crap afterwards. And the old computer analogy, garbage in, garbage out, is what I am digesting into my body and my mind through my eyes. Is this making me a better person? Am I digesting this porn? Is this making me a better person? Like if I ate this porn every day, how will this affect me? And energetically, it has to affect. It affected me in a terrible way. I could literally go the entire day viewing pornography without stopping to eat. So
wow.
Yeah,
That's
without
intense.
stopping to eat. Yeah, and then finally, I call it coming to. I'd come to, kind of shake my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m. Maybe I should get something to eat, and then the next day I'd have to get up and go to work, and I'd be called a porn hangover. I was up all late last night viewing porn, and I got to get up early, take care of business. And so
wow.
Anyway, but the energy, you talk about the energy. I just had, if someone is debating, is porn something I want to keep doing? Is it garbage in? And if it is, what's going to come out? And
it's lower vibrational. It's lower vibrational energy, which lowers our vibration.
It absolutely is.
Because we're trying to fulfill something that we feel lacking on the inside. And if we heal what is lacking on the inside, because in reality, we're not lacking anything ever. We're whole and complete. But it's about remembering who we are, becoming self-aware about who we are, and then healing the parts of it that's keeping us disconnected, which is the ego mind.
Wow, you could print what you just said there. That was awesome.
Yeah, well, I just spoke it. I don't remember what the hell I just said. I'll have to go back and listen to it. see, these are some of those things that you're in the moment and you're being spoken through, I'm like, what? You're like, you need to print that. I go, what the hell did I just say? Because it like, as soon as it comes through, because it's not of me, it just comes through and boom, there it is. And then it's gone for me in that fleeting moment, but it'll be here. I have to go, when I go back and work through this, I'll have to listen to it and see what I just said here. But it's about raising your vibration.
Absolutely.
And doing things that raise your vibrational energy. And that's what consciousness is. That's what awakening is raising that consciousness as you become less disconnected and remembering truly who you are. And this is where mindfulness comes in, and this is where a lot of these other things come in. You start raising up that even when you try to do these other things, you feel it immediately, this disconnect, like, ooh, this is not.
Yes, that disconnect. I was given up, this was years ago. This was 25 years ago. I was given a presentation, and the night before, well, I was pouring hungover, and I was giving a presentation, and I got tongue-tied. Now, it wasn't a big thing. I don't even know if anybody noticed, but I noticed. And why I got tongue-tied is I just had this flashing image of me acting out the night before. And I'm thinking, what would these people think if they knew what I was watching, and it was just a split second thought. But yeah, it lowers your vibration unquestionably. There's no question. Even if you're okay with doing porn, it lowers your vibration. And I was always striving for these different goals, and I could never get them because I'd always be like, no, Eric, you're a piece of shit because last night you viewed the most unbelievable, horrific pornography. You're a piece of shit. You cannot achieve that goal. Now, consciously, I wasn't thinking that, but
it's all unconscious. There. And you sabotage yourself because you didn't feel deserving of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the thing we talk about. Oh, like when you're sitting up there, man, these people knew me. Who am I to be up here speaking this presentation? Who am I to be out here doing this, talking about this? Who am I?
Precisely.
Because we're still living with that guilt and shame that you're just this horrible person, that you don't deserve to be up there. That, man, if people knew this about you, they would reject me.
Yeah.
And really what it was is you were still rejecting yourself. And then we still reject ourselves today to some point, but that's a continuation of, that's like when we're not perfect, but we use the ego now to evolve us versus holding us back. And sometimes it still does because we're human.
Right.
It's going to happen. And you made a point of this in the beginning when you're talking about it, you're like, hey, I don't have it all together. I don't ever try to pretend that I have it all together. And you don't have to have it all together. The only thing you need is to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of the people you're working with. Right. And in reality, if someone's coming from a 12-step program, coming over to work with you anyway, or not even going to this 12-step, you already have what they need. And we're making this shift in the world, in this consciousness, that away from the outdated education system, the higher education system, that to me is broken.
Oh, it's completely broken. It's antiquated.
Yes.
Antiquated. Yes.
And because my daughter, I was having a conversation with my daughter, who's going to be 14 this Friday. And she was saying, Dad, do I have to go to college? And I said, no. Right. If you aren't getting into something that requires a degree,
exactly.
then no, you can find your education, your knowledge.
Oh my gosh.
Less expensive.
Absolutely.
But you can find it from people that have done the work, like you.
Yeah, with the internet now, it is absolutely fantastic. We have the knowledge of the world at our fingertips like it has never been in the history of mankind. And I totally agree about college. And my brother's a good example. He's more of a hands-on type of person. He likes to work with his hands. And my mom and dad they didn't make him go, but they strongly encouraged him to go. And he did, and he graduated. It's all good. But honestly, I think for him, he probably would have been happier to go to a trade school, spending a fraction of the money.
And you made a good point there. Like, yeah, he did good, but he probably would have been better off going to a trade school. Is that from our belief system, our parents and us as well, passing it on to our own kids is the same cycles being passed on. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, and then get a job, because that's how things are supposed to be. And we're doing what everybody else thinks we should do, and we're being what everybody else thinks we should be. That's what creates the disconnect. That's what creates this whole thing. And no fault of theirs. right? Everybody's doing the best that they can. Our parents did the best they can.
Yes,
Even
I
if they
agree.
fucked you up,
I agree.
they did the best they could.
I
My
agree.
dad fucked me up,
Yeah.
right? He pretty much destroyed me into some sense, but I am grateful for that now because I would not be here right now doing this.
Yeah.
Your childhood, how you were growing up, it's grateful. And people are like, how can you get to that point of grateful? When you heal enough and you break those cycles and you see, holy shit, they're in pain too. They
Yeah.
just couldn't figure it out. It's up to us to change the collective energy that allows them to heal. That's how we heal people, by changing or shifting our energy. That vibration we were just talking about, that's how we do it.
You're talking about not necessarily going to college. Some people would consider that pornographic. And what I for myself, I expanded the word pornographic to mean things that go against society, that society doesn't like, or society doesn't think is a good idea. That's pornographic. So what do you mean? You don't think that your kids should go to college? Of course they should go to college. They need a good education. Well, you know, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, these guys had very little organized schooling.
Well, Steve
And are
Jobs,
wild.
he dropped out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Same with
Elon
Bill
Musk.
Gates.
Elon Musk says this. People come to him with their degrees, you know, he says, I don't give a fuck about your degrees. What can you do? What can you do? He says, I don't care about your degrees. And that's coming from Elon Musk, one of the most educated people on the planet. And if you read his biography, which we were just talking about, here's up on the wall here.
Yep.
By Ashley Vance. In the biography, he says one day he literally spent the entire, how I spent the entire day viewing porn. He spent the entire day reading books. Like he said, he got up in the morning, he started reading, and then it was late at night. He's like, oh my gosh, I spent the whole day reading books. So he educated himself. And with addiction, there's so much other alternative information out there. And one thing I do want to say real quick about 12 step, I slam 12 steps a lot. Sometimes that's all people have available. If that's all you can get to, you know, it got me to a certain point, but then I had to fly on my own. So if you need to be in there for a while, and the same thing with religion. I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, had to go to church every Sunday. And I'm going to make a lot of people angry here. This is going to be pornographic, what I'm saying here. Is that organized religion may not be good for you. What? Now, I've got a spiritual teacher named, her name is Deborah Bourbon. She's deceased now, a fantastic person. And she said, well, you know, Eric, you got to a point and then it didn't work for you anymore. He says, just because you're at this point in your life that Catholicism isn't really working for you anymore doesn't mean it doesn't work for other people. People are at where they're at, and that may be working for them right now.
You made an amazing point, and it's something that I had to work through, and until some point, I'm still working through that piece of it. And it's that little bit of ego left of getting rid of that piece of it.
Yeah.
As you said it, is that even with these 12-step programs, it's not that you're knocking them, because they're all useful to those where the level that they're at, their level of understanding,
the level where they're at, yes.
The belief that they're ready to handle.
Yes.
Because we can only handle so much truth, like universal truth, to what we can personally handle. If not, it's going to totally freak us out.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Religion is good for those people. I don't think it's the final destination. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. I don't think it's the final destination. For some, it is. Yes. Because they'll go and they can't fathom anymore. And that's just how they're wired at that moment. They can't go any deeper.
Yeah, and that's why.
Yeah.
And that's why the world desperately needs your message, because people, and I'm talking about myself, I was a very narrow and prim and proper, and, you know, you don't want to offend anybody, and you know, this is against the rules of my religion. And a friend of mine, I think I told you about this at our lunch. a friend of mine. He's one of my dear friends. I love him completely. And he is in a particular religion. And in this service, they have one that's called a teen mass or a teen service. And it's more uplifting. And they play electric guitars and things like that. And sometimes the teenagers will kind of dance, and they're not on the pews, but in their seats. They'll dance there at their seats. And he said he thought that was very disrespectful. Did you see the movie Footloose? For God's sake, the movie Footloose, it's in their Bible about, be free and dance. I don't know what exactly it says, but my point is people need to lighten up about the spirituality. I needed desperately to lighten up about my spirituality, no matter if it was Catholicism or Lutheranism or whatever ism. Just, lighten up.
It's hard to lighten up when you're holding on to all this pain and these stereotypes and the generational stuff that prevents us from moving forward. And even for me, I didn't want to be the funny guy, because I'm stepping outside the norm. I'm being pornographic. I like that word. I'm gonna start using it all the time. I'm gonna be pornographic right now. I mean, I'm gonna use it. I'm just telling you right now, I'm stealing it.
Great, please.
But it's like, because you're going against societal norms. That's exactly how I just wrote it down. Pornographic, going against societal norms. Because we have to, if we're going to serve humanity and help them get to where they want to get and actually shift the way humanity shows up. Because, man, we are in some pretty intense times where everybody's offended by everything, which I have some funny videos that are going to be coming out. And then some of my skits that I'm going to be doing live in my comedy shows, they're going to be doing that too. But I don't just stop at the comedy piece, because there's a lot of comics there. There's a lot of comics out there, but they're in pain too. And that's the whole reason they're doing what they're doing. They have this gift of being funny, but they're doing it from a pain standpoint. And that's kind of how I was. I use this gift as I don't want people to see my pain, and I don't want people to feel I do. But here I am dying inside. Now I'm at a shifting point where I'm like, I don't need it to hide pain or don't want people. I'm being more free. But there was reason why I'm saying this is there was a point where I didn't want to be funny, because if I had too much fun, I'd die. That's a belief I had. Because I had some things happen in my life and how I believed that I thought I was going to die. And this is all unconscious. I never obviously believed it, but that's something that came to me as I'm working through and doing the work. And I want to go back in the beginning. We were talking about, because this is now just coming to me, we talked about addiction in the first place. Because there's people replacing addictions with addictions.
Right.
And instead of just doing the work, like doing the inner work, because people are scared to do the inner work, but people can even get addicted to personal development.
I agree.
They change it and they do all this work.
I am one of them. I plead guilty.
Because they're scared to go in. If I fucking go in there, I got to deal with that. And that means I got to take responsibility for all the shit that I'm holding on to. I can't own what my parents said. I can't own what my teacher said to me. I can't own all. I did not cause that. But if I deal with this, that means I got to take responsibility for my life. Yeah. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to act like I am, but I fully don't want to. And again, this is not conscious. This is all unconscious. This is why most people go around blaming everybody, and it's victim mentality. Yes. Victim mentality. And it's about shifting. And this is why you can't say this, you can't say that. That offended me. That triggered me. You got to stop. I mean, we do this and we go through societal. So I want to be pornographic, man. Yeah. I want to be right there with you saying, I'm going to be a freaking porno addict breaking societal norms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that's the greatest joke ever now.
Yeah, well, the show Porn Talk, I didn't want it to be just about addiction and just about recovering porn. I wanted it to be more than that. And as I like to say, Porn Talk is not just about breaking addictions. It's about breaking belief systems. It's about breaking belief systems. Who the most wise people are out there who can have a held belief, learn new information, and then change their belief. That's really hard. A lot of people, I'll go out on a limb and say, well, most people don't do that or don't do that very well.
Yeah, and I was one of those guys that in the beginning, when I started my spiritual journey, seeking deeper, because I was in the church as well, not the Catholic Church, but Christian nonetheless, that I kept feeling this disconnect and feeling like there's something deeper, but I could never pinpoint what it was. I'm like, okay, I'm going to church, and that's the only time I feel some inspiration there. I feel some words, but then I would leave and still. But for a while, it worked for me. It worked great. And then as I'm doing it, as I'm growing, I'm like, something's missing. I'm like, there's something deeper. I don't know what it is. And I started asking the question, God, who are you really? Who's Jesus really? And I'm going, why am I asking that question? Because I didn't know why I was asking. I'm like, what's really going on? And I'm like, I'm confused. And I felt like I was in this desert. And then I picked up this book by Deepak Chopra, because it spoke to me, like The Future of God is what it's called.
Right.
And I remember reading this book, and it turned me up. I was like, whoa, I was not ready to hear that at that moment. Some I could take, and some I was like, nope. And it totally fucked me up. Like, and I mean, I was like all screwed up. I was like, whoa. And this is what we talked about before.
I like Deepak.
Yeah. But now I realize he's talking the truth. He was speaking the truth to me. I just wasn't ready to hear it. So this goes back to people who are, church is good for some people. We just don't think it's final destination, but we get programmed to think that's the only way. And this is how things are. This is the absolute truth. And anything against it, everybody's going to hell, which I've learned is anytime you use fear, it's not God.
Yeah, exactly. Then we got to start wars because you guys don't believe what we believe, so we're going to kill you all.
Yeah, and that's with all these different religions, and that's not true of who they are, which in all essence, they all point to the same God.
Yes.
But they just view it differently based off man-made perceptions. Yeah. This is why you have multiple denominations in the Christian faith too, because they believe it just a little differently. And I would say this, and even in someone who doesn't want to let go of those beliefs that they're, the religion belief, great. If you just take those words in that book, because there is some truth. I believe there is some truth, and I don't believe it's all truth, because anything that's not love, I do not believe is truth. And I believe there's a lot of things that was mistranslated. I know there's enough evidence out there, and there's universal evidence that's been given to me on truth that it's not absolute, but there is truth in there. But they've defined it a certain way in theology and say, no, that's not what that means. This is what it means. Just trust me. I've gone to school with this. It's like, no. This has been passed on for generations this way, and there is some truth there. Just go deeper with it. I think that religion is just surface level spirituality, and you can have a connection with God because we are God in the flesh, right? So we are this universal spiritual being, right? So you can never fully be disconnected from God. You could feel like you're completely separated, but you never really are, because you are a spiritual being.
Dude, what you're saying, that's pornographic.
I know it is.
and that's why I really was excited.
I'm the new porn star.
Yeah. No.
I'm Tony freaking Fonte, the spiritual porn star.
So the things that the spiritual porn star. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to borrow that.
Take it.
Spiritual
porn star. That just came.
Oh, I'm definitely going to borrow that. The spiritual porn star. Oh boy. So the things that we're talking about is, you said, a lot of people now have turned us off because this may not resonate with them. They got to be at a point in their life where they're ready to hear something like that.
And that's okay.
Right. So,
but the majority of people who are here listening to this, because there's nothing by coincidence, right?
Right.
Everything happens on a reason, for a purpose. If it's showing up, their vibrational frequency is matching enough to listen. Now, some they are, because they're curious about what I'm doing. They're curious about what you're doing, and they're not ready for it. And they're going to get pissed off, and then they're going to say some things. They're going to call us the Antichrist or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Which, I can say that about religion at the same time too, in some fame, but I'm not here to speak hate, because it is useful for everybody. Even like you said, the 12-step programs and all these other programs are useful for those who are seeking something different, but they are not ready to hear on a deeper level. Just like when I went into religion, I didn't go in until I think it was 2009 when I got, baptized. I wasn't ready to embrace this. And it took me a while to even embrace this, the spiritual part. I mean, I fought it when I started doing this work back in, it was October 2017 is really when I started this. So it's been 2 years. October 2017, and I started really doing it in January. And then all of a sudden, my belief started being challenged because I started feeling, because I was doing meditation and I was starting to experience new spiritual gifts that I had no idea were there. And I was like experiencing things. And all of a sudden, my belief started unraveling. And it was very painful. And the reason it was painful because I was still holding on tightly.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, I don't quite believe that, but I'm open-minded to it because my beliefs have been turned upside down. So I don't believe it yet because I don't have enough information to make sense of that yet. But I don't automatically say, oh, I don't believe that shit. Like I believe I believe that we can teleport. I believe that we can biolocate, and I believe we did that. I can't talk now. Way back. Around the time of actually before Jesus came, all that, I believe we were able to do that. And I believe as humanity shifts back into this consciousness, at some point we may be able to do that again. Right, I believe we have that power to do some of this stuff.
I do too. I could talk to you extensively about that.
Well, we're going to have you back on again.
Yeah. There's boy, that's a whole volume of podcasts.
Yes, spirit going deep into the spiritual porn.
Spiritual porn, the spiritual porn stars.
See, you're gonna change your name from Powerfuleric to a spiritual porn star. That's your
Powerfuleric spiritual porn star.
Woo, that was
Don't be like my nemesis, Raging Richard. Don't be a dick.
Be a spiritual porn star.
You
so much fun there.
We've talked a lot about beliefs, and for me, that's the core of everything with my addiction, with my beliefs. And one of my commonly held beliefs was, now granted, I figured this out. This was not a conscious thing, but it was, I cannot be successful because of I'm a sex and porn addict. I cannot be successful because I'm a sex and porn addict. That was my mantra.
Yeah, I'm not worthy. I'm inadequate because I have this struggle.
That's right. I'm unworthy. I'm inadequate. And most of the guys that I deal with and talk to, their commonly held belief is I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And including me. That was me too. I'm a piece of shit. And finally, now granted, I go back and forth. Some days I feel better than others, but I finally had one day, I do affirmations and I look at myself in the mirror and I say, I like myself or I love myself. And finally one day I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, I like myself, and I meant it.
I feel that.
And
that's powerful.
My hairs are going up on me again.
I'm feeling that energy right now.
And so I invite your listeners to look themselves in the mirror, even if they don't believe it yet. If they can't get themselves to the point to say, I love themselves. If you can't say, I love myself, try and say, I like myself. If you can't say, I like myself, say, I'm learning to like myself. I'm learning to like myself.
Or I'm willing to like myself.
Yes.
Because that's one thing with affirmations I had to learn, because I used to do them all the time. And I'm like, it never seemed to fucking work. The thing is, if you are so against believing that, like internally, like I don't fucking believe an ounce of that is true of me. Because you have all this internal turmoil, they don't work. It's like, oh, affirmations don't work. The law of attraction don't work. It does. You just don't understand how it actually works. Because law of attraction is universal. It's a universal law. It's universal truth. You just have to understand. And people who say it doesn't work, it's because they just don't understand it. But the belief is like Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you know who.
Yes, I know. I know very well. Yes.
They talk about to reach for the next best feeling, the next
Yes.
best thought.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I love that you said that, brought it up, because someone who is just depressed, right? They can't sit there and say, I fucking love myself and I'm happy and joyful. They'll be like, and the mirror look like, so you'll see this image come back in the mirror, like, who the fuck are you, jackass? I mean, it's just, it's
yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, because I've
know
been
exactly
there too,
what you're
but
talking
you could
about.
say, I don't love myself yet, but I'm willing to love myself.
Yeah.
Do you feel the power and there's hope in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I'm willing to love myself. And then as you start believing I'm willing, you can change that to the next best thing until you get to, because you can't, when you are a 1, you can't go to a 10.
Yeah. And I love what you said, and I love how you said it, because you said, I'm willing to love myself. And you said it with some passion, because that is the missing component. People say affirmations don't work. You need to put feeling and emotion into it, like you just did there.
Power behind it, because emotion, what pushes us, right? And there's so many, especially men. It's like, oh, you gotta take your heart out of it. You can't have any emotion. You gotta be logic, and this is how you make decisions logically. And I'm like, no, you don't. You can try to fool yourself all you want. Behind every logical decision is emotion. We are emotional beings, period. Yes. Men have been so disconnected from that because they feared this divine feminine. So that's why women were suppressed. You got to be a man. You can't feel. You can't do this shit. And then they're wondering why they're disconnected. And women are like, fuck you. I want a man that shows up and can connect. And women are pushing this gauge. Now you see this Me Too movement, right? Which I think is an extreme version of the feminist movement, because there's, just like with anything, you have extremes. It can be, it can cause more division. Right. But women and the earth is waking up, because that's what the earth is. Earth is the divine mother god of the divine feminine, right? The creation. It's this shift. The planets, all of that are all in line doing all of that, saying, we're done. We want more, because women are absolutely connected to that divine power, and they are starting to waken up. And now they demand us men to start showing up in our divine masculine, not the toxic masculinity, not the hurt masculinity. And I know people are going to hear this toxic masculinity and get pissed off, which is great, because that tells me that you're dealing with it. Because I used to be a toxic guy. We've talked about this, and anybody listening to this, even if you're new, you can go back. But I used to be a very toxic guy. So when I hear toxic masculinity, I go, yep, it's there. And anybody who's fighting it is because they are dealing with it and they don't want to. They're not conscious of it, and that's fine. But it's about reaching for the next best feeling. Because if you're angry or you're depressed, you can't reach for joy, but you can reach for the next one. And guess what? Anger is not a bad thing if it moves you to change and shift and evolve in a good way, because that's what it took for me. Because I was an angry guy who got angry and made a change. And I've been there since. Now, when it's destructive, that's not good. And that's where most of anger comes from, because it's fear.
Right.
And that anger I got that moved me forward, it was fear, but it moved me forward. Yeah. So absolutely love it. We're going to have you back on, man, because
I'd love to, man.
This wasn't a long enough conversation, damn it. We're just getting started. But anyway, I love this conversation. We can go on for hours. I'm going to have you back on because we need to go to step 2, phase 2, part 2, 3, 4, and 5, or whatever, because we can continue on. But here's what I want to end with for you. And this is what I ask all my guests, because it goes right in line with the whole laughing through life, breaking cycles, and learning to laugh through every single thing of life. Is what is one key to having fun in life? First thing that comes to mind.
Don't take yourself so seriously.
Ooh.
Lighten up. Don't take yourself so seriously.
Your life is more fun when you let go.
Yeah. There's a quote that I'm trying to pull to my mind here that basically says, I think of that. If you're stuck in your head, you're dead. You overanalyze and think about all your problems, but that's what I'd say.
And the mind creates more problems too. It can solve, but it solves through the heart when we come from that space and we use it for a proper tool versus creating more pain to keep us safe stuck because of those trapped emotions too. So
And
absolutely
if
love it,
there's
man.
and if there's any guys out there that are in pain, that are suffering from sex or porn addiction, they can reach out to me at powerfuleric.com. And also, I have my podcast. It's called Porn Talk. You can get to that through my website, powerfuleric.com, or you can also go directly to the podcast website, which is porntalk.org. But I'd love to have your listeners take a listen to Porn Talk.
Absolutely, and I recommend you go and do that. I'll have all these links in the show notes for everybody who wants to go check Powerful Eric out here, the spiritual porn star. You can take that now, and so you can connect with him, make it easier for you all. So you'll have his website. I'll also have his links to the social media, so you can connect with him directly if you want to know more about what he does or how he can potentially help you navigate this porn addiction, so you can become a spiritual porn star. Dude, I can't even stop smiling just thinking about the name of it.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I'm glad. See, this is the stuff that comes to me, the creative mind and flow, like that improv stuff of it, the funny stuff. But I'll have all that in the show notes so you connect. Eric, I'm going to have you back because this was fun. It was not long enough because we can keep going on.
Right.
Thank you for being on the show. Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. It was fun.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, all. Stay tuned for the next episode of Laughing Through Life, because life is meant to be fun. Live fully and have fun along the entire journey. So laugh it and live it.
Peace.